Hey guys, I'm Ray. We are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Let me put these on because it is already really loud with the fan on. And that way I don't have to shout quite as loudly. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Hello, how's everyone doing? So, today is Friday, and Friday I said that we were going to start a brand new project, and you know what? We are. I am, though, going to discuss a little bit about the project that we finished up on Wednesday, which was our gardening trowel. So this is the gardening trowel as it sits right now. So it's nice and cool, and I've been able to kind of take a look at it, kind of feel how the ergonomics are, and how I feel about this guy. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. However, I kind of feel like in order to make it a very nice and usable shovel, I am going to need to do a little bit of bending on the handle just to give it a little bit more ergonomics. Right now it's very straight, and I think it'd be a little bit harder to dig or to use to dig. Hey Corwin, welcome to the stream. I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually pretty energetic right now. I'm super excited to be here. So I'm gonna probably do a little bit of the handle bending this weekend. I also need to run it over with not with like a car or anything, with a wire wheel to kind of get all of the scale off of it, shine it up a little bit. I do want to spend a little bit of time on the bench grinder to kind of give it a little bit cleaner of a shape. And also, we've got a very thick blade on this trowel, and I kind of want to sharpen it up a little bit. I have a very clay heavy yard, like all of the dirt and in my garden in my yard is very clay heavy. And so sharpening this up a little bit is going to make it a little bit more usable. Corwin says, did you change your mind on the wood handle? I did. Honestly, the reason I changed my mind on the wood handle is because this handle was actually relatively good size for this trowel. And if I were going to add on the wood onto the end of this, it would be kind of awkwardly long. And while there would be lots and lots of leverage, to get really in there, I think it would be difficult to use in general. So instead of putting the rat tail tang inside of the wooden handle, we just kind of made a loop on the end so that we can hang it when it's not in use. So I still would like to make another trowel with a wood handle, and maybe we will at a later date. But for the moment, I think I'm pretty happy with this guy. So today's project, like I said, is going to be a brand new project, and I will talk a little bit about that after the ad ends. Because like I said, or not like I said, I haven't mentioned that there's an ad starting in about a minute. So I don't think I'm going to be quite finished talking about our new project before that ad starts, so we're just going to wait until it's over. But yeah, I'm super excited about our new project. Exciting. Maybe a coffee scoop with a wooden handle or a carving knife. We could definitely do something like that. If you wouldn't mind putting those in the project suggestions in the Discord so that I can kind of have a collection and add it to my list, that would be amazing, because those are really good ideas for that. Another good idea would be like a grill fork or like a grill set. I know we made a grill set over here, but having wood handles on a grill set would be really nice, So we will eventually do some more wooden handles with rat tail tangs inside of them, just because it's relatively easy for me to do, and I think they look nice. So yeah, I would be more than willing to do some of that stuff, so we can manage it. Also, I'm super excited about how the rat tang turned out on that handle, because I had the new blacksmith's helper, or the guillotine tool that we made. So I also have a couple things that we're going to use the that tool for with this project. So I'm super excited that you guys convinced me to make one, and now I have it. So it's a great tool. I'm really excited. Definitely worth the headaches. Maybe next time though, I'm not gonna make it at a 1/2 inch plate. All right. So the ad is going to end any moment now, and I will start talking about our next project. All right. So for our next project, as it says on the title of the stream, is going to be a set of tongs. So I have here two sections of 6 inches of the coil spring that Corwin sent me to the P.O. box. So they literally came off of this coil, but this coil is covered in like, I'm not entirely sure if it's like a powder coating or what it is. Needless to say, I ended up this morning, what I did was I took the time to burn off this coating. And I had all the ventilation, I had my garage door, my regular door, the window was cracked, and I used respiratory protection, and we burned that coating off of these two pieces. And I also took the time to kind of straighten these out a little bit so they'll fit in the mailbox a little bit easier. So you can kind of see they're a little bit wobbly. It's because they didn't start as straight. So we are going to straighten them out a little bit more as we draw out the reins. So the plan for these tongs is to create something in between a V-bolt or like a V-bit set of tongs and a wolf jaw set of tongs. So I've kind of seen the two names a little bit interchangeable. Usually when there's only one perpendicular groove, they're called V-bit. And when there are two or more perpendicular grooves, they tend to be called wolf jaws because the gap between the two like V's looks kind of like wolf teeth. So I'm going to try and put two V's, perpendicular V's, in these and turn them into wolf jaw, but there is a chance that I just won't make the jaws big enough and they'll just end up being V-bits. So it's going to be somewhere in between wolf jaws and V-bits, and when we start forming those bits, that's probably when we'll get to decide what design they technically are, if that makes sense. Hey, Mahalo, welcome to the stream. Oh, and these are spring steel. Like I said, they came off the coil spring. The reason we're doing coil spring and, spring steel is so that I can draw out the reins really, really long and skinny. So these guys right here are made out of mild steel. So I had to make the reins relatively thick so they're not going to bend and stay bent. But I like to be able to lock these guys closed. So if I really need to, work on like small stuff, I can kind of lock the material inside the jaws. So I need that extra spring in order to use a tong lock. How are the grooves put into the jaws? With a chisel? Or or is that how? And no spoilers. Okay. Well, if you don't want spoilers, then I guess I can't tell you. I can't answer that question. But if you truly want to know the answer, I will, I can tell you how I'm planning on doing it. There are several different ways to go about doing that. And I have an idea how I want to do it, but, sometimes my ideas and the actual techniques are not the same, and we work through that, we learn, and we grow. So give me 1 second here. I did that whole intro and I forgot to hit my record button, but that's all right. Okay, I'm gonna grab a drink and then we are going to work on starting the forge. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use our flint striker to see if we can't set the little carbon cloth on fire so that if we ever wanted to use a flint striker, we definitely could. I'm just being silly. You can describe your project however you want. I might get into that a little bit later. I'll definitely describe it as I'm doing it or just before I'm doing it. So, all right. So like I said, okay. And if I do this again, guys, you gotta remind me, I put the lid on the bottom of the can. Now that I've said it that way, though, I'll probably remember. All right, so we got the flint, we got the striker. Let's grab some of the char cloth and we'll see if we can't set it on fire. Now, I have already burned myself today once. I accidentally touched one of these little coils. New bounty in chat. Find the box lid, right? Will Ray lose the box lid? Probably. Okay, so we've got some char cloth. Okay, and I'm going to change the view of the camera so I think you guys will be able to see. I just learned that I can use a piece of petrified wood that I found to strike a fire. So now I need to make a striker too. All right? They're really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put this piece of char cloth right here. And we're going to see if we can't set it on fire. I'm not going to use this to actually light the forge. I'm just kind of practicing and seeing how much better we can get at this. Well, we're definitely sparking. Maybe if I put it down here. I don't know. Not having much in the way of luck. Oh, 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 look at that. Look at that. Hex, yes. It only took us 2 streams to get this, right? So the next thing that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to put some kindling or put this in some kindling. And then from there, we're supposed to put it in little like bigger kindling. I'm going to put that right there because it's starting to get a little hot. So yes, we would be able to start a fire that way. Hex, yes. I'm learning things, guys. I'm learning things. I don't know if you guys can see it, though. Can you? You'll have to let me know. It's right there. Maybe I'll move the camera so you guys can see it a little bit easier, maybe. Whoops. It helps when I'm like, you know, apologies, guys. Oh, wait. I gotta like do the thing, right? I gotta focus the camera. Oh, you're starting to be able to see it. There you go. Check that out. We lit it on fire. Cool. And it helps when I'm like, you know, neato coolio. Okay, let's do that so I don't make you guys sick. Apologies. But yeah, that's super exciting for me. I was able to do it. Like I said, we're probably going to be a little bit less inclined to try and actually light our pieces with it because the amount of okay, cool. The amount of like it kind of blows around because of all of the airflow in the forge, and I don't want it to be like flying everywhere and setting other fires. So we're not going to be doing it quite this time, but it's definitely something that I will take advantage of when we're looking at lighting the coal forge next time. So yes. Translation Ray is a pyromaniac and wants to make a fire for the heck of it. That's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. All right, now let's start another fire. But this time we have a purpose for this fire. This fire has a purpose, guys. This fire has purpose. You know, it helps when you put enough gas to actually light it. All right, so we will be using the mailbox. I'm gonna need to replace the pressure gauge on my mailbox because the needle he keeps getting stuck, so I kind of have to tap it in order for it to like read out. All fires have a purpose, do they? I mean, yes, they do technically. You know, even if they're just for my own my own entertainment. All right, so we're gonna put this guy in the fire, and we're gonna try and we're gonna start this. So, note, I did use the mailbox to burn off all of the coating on these guys. So if you see random colors or a little bit of smoke, that's probably why it's still burning off a little bit of the coating that fell off inside of the mailbox. Okie doke. So, I believe the first step is going to be squaring off this round bar. Like I said, we started with a coil spring. It's very round. We're going to square it off. It's going to be a lot easier to work with while it's square, keeping things nice and straight and lined up with everything. So that's probably what we're going to start with. Hey, Jack. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Lady Bing Bong. Bing Bong. So that actually reminds me of Baldur's Gate 3. I don't know if you guys have played Baldur's Gate 3, but it is a D&D like simulator. And it's very popular, so if you haven't played it, you should. It's an amazing game. Anyway, the voice actors played a one-shot of D&D together. And one of the NPCs they encountered was like, I think it was a scamp, and they named it Bing Bong. So that's what that made me think of, Jack. So yes. And we are going to be using our blacksmith helper in this project a few times, I think. Maybe? Making grabby sticks. Yes, I'm making grabby sticks. They're going to be somewhere between Wolfjaw and V-bit tops. Because I believe the difference between Wolfjaw and V-bit are the amount of perpendicular grooves within the jaws of the tongs. If it's one, it's usually called a V-bit. If there's more than one, it tends to be called like Wolfjaw and other names. But yeah, we are going to attempt to put a single a single parallel groove and two perpendicular grooves in this set of tongs. So yeah. There is always a chance that I'm not going to be able, or that I'm not going to make it the jaws long enough to put 2 grooves in. And if that's the case, then we'll just put 1 groove in and they'll be beautiful. But when we get that far, we'll make that decision. But the whole goal is to make a set of tongs that I can kind of grab smaller pieces of steel with. And then lock them in place, which is why we're using spring steel, so that we can use a tong lock and then manipulate the smaller pieces of steel whatever direction without fear of them slipping out of my hands. So yeah, that's the goal. So I think this is going to be, or it's going to take between 4 and 6 streams. My ideal is going to be 4 streams, and I always end up, like, stuff happens, and the projects always take longer than I think they're going to. So I'm just going to have 2 extra days that are just like for safety. So fingers crossed, we'll be done on Friday of next week. So, you know, today, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4. But if not, maybe Wednesday of the week after next. I don't know. We're gonna do our best. And then the next project after this project is going to be a brand. And the butler told me that it should be a burger brand and not a cow brand. So we'll probably do like we'll make the design the size of a burger, so you can kind of smush your meat down on the grill with our brand. I think there is if you go to Steak and Shake, they have, or there's like an example, they have their Bitcoin burger, and they have like a little burger brand that's in the shape of the Bitcoin symbol. So we're gonna do that, but with America 250. At least 250. I'm hoping I can fit America in there as well. But yeah, it is going to be a celebration of the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States. So, but yeah, all right. So like I said, our first heat is going to be squaring off this piece of steel. So let's do that. Burgers. Yeah. It always comes back to food, guys. It always comes back to food. All right, we'll sharpen out those quarters as we go. But we've got a nice square going there. We're going to continue that square all the way through. And I'm thinking the next step after that, we're going to start working on the jaws a little bit. And the boss at the same time. I'm going to put this side over there for the moment. Ah! Dropping things, man, dropping things. I had a Whataburger for the first time on Sunday. I have never had Whataburger, but I've never been in an area that had Whataburger. I've always wondered though, because I have a lot of friends who are from the West Coast, and they just rave about Whataburger. So I don't know. Evening sandwich, hello. Welcome to the stream. All right. So yeah, it was in Atlanta. Do they have Whataburgers in Atlanta now? I thought they only had them in Oregon, California, and Arizona. They must be moving around a little bit then. Outstanding. Around the corner from the Blade Show. How was that Blade Show? Tell me all about it. I saw that you got to meet some of the people from Forged in Fire. That is super exciting. I also got to meet a couple people from Forged in Fire over the past couple of weeks. And I do have at least 2 interviews. And my goal is to have those interviews out in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, last Wednesday, like I said, I have like 12, 13 videos that are filmed and waiting to be edited. I'm getting through them as fast as I possibly can. And I'm hoping that I can get those out in a timely fashion for you guys. Super excited for them. All right, let's do another heat. All right, so now I'm going to flip this over. We're going to finish off squaring this guy in this last little bit here. Then we're going to start working on the bit of the tongs. And I think I might actually need to use different tongs in this. These are a little loose. So I think we're going to swap to these tongs. See, this is why I need this set of tongs, because this will be like a universal set. I like that you had the Ray Smithy shirt at the meeting. I tried very hard. I'm trying to rep for myself, you know? And then when people ask me what I'm doing, I can be like, I'm Ray from Ray Smithy. See my shirt? It was a lot of fun. Learned quite a bit from some of the bladesmiths, blacksmiths that loved or that I talked to. Even about table displays. Saw a hilarious Marlin spike type tool that invoked my 13-year-old brain. What is a Marlin spike? Is that like a fish thing? Is that what those little fish gutter thingies are called? It's like a little awl that's like on some like fish multi-tools? That might be. Hi, Smithy. By the way, who's right? Yeah, right? Yes, that's how it was. Marlin spikes are for, oh, okay. For tying knots. That must be why. Okay, so I had an ex-boyfriend who was a big Boy Scout person. He's the one that got me into blacksmithing in the first place. And he had this multi-tool that had this big spike, and I thought maybe it was for fishing, but if it's for knot tying and untying, that makes a lot more sense, because, you know, Boy Scouts and knots. Or different rope work. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So that would also be very nostalgic if you were in the Boy Scouts. So yeah, cool. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm super excited to be out here. I've already been out here a little bit today. Earlier at like 8 o'clock when I got out of bed, I like immediately got dressed and came out here so that I could cut those pieces of steel and burn off the coating. And then I got super excited about having the forge up, and I just straightened everything out. So I apologize for not showing that, but you know, I was really excited to be out here. All right, let's do another heat. Whoops, I think I put that on the wrong side. There we go. That's a lot better now. Okay, let's do this. All right, so now we got some rounded off corners coming in here. But we definitely have some flats that we're going to be able to follow the whole way through and make sure that everything is all nice and lined up. So, all right. Do I want to do this to the other one first, or do I want to start working on the jaws? I think I should probably work on them equally. So we're going to heat this guy up. I posted a picture in the Discord. Well, thank you, because you know what? If I don't know what a thing is, then, you know, it helps to be able to see it. Let me look at it. I love this. I have a laptop right over there. I could pull it up on the laptop on the big screen, and here I am, like, getting into my phone. Like, that's going to be better. Pictures. A marlin spike tool. That is not what I imagined in my head. It kind of looks like a little scythe. I assume it's not flat, but I don't think you can see it from my phone, but it's on the Discord, so here. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah. Yeah. That's not what I imagined. I imagined just like this long, like, spike. But it is kind of cool looking because it is like a little scythe. I'm gonna drink through this so fast. It's getting some usage for camping and self-defense as well. Yeah, I can imagine. It looks kind of sharp. It definitely does. But you really need it to be sharp if you're going to be undoing knots, because when you get those really tight knots, they're stubborn. You should be able to, like, use your fingers to untie them, but you know, when they're too tight, you need a tool, right? My brain is, yeah. So yeah, like I said, these are 6-inch pieces of steel, and so it's a little bit on the shorter side, but like I said, I really want to have some thin reins, so I don't need nearly as much material. So normally when I do tongs, I start with an 8-inch piece. That gave me about this size with this dimension of reins, and I want them to be thinner than this, the reins on this set of tongs. So we're gonna be doing a lot of drawing out later on in the stream. All right, so we've got an ad starting in any minute now, or I guess any second now, right there. I never understand that. It's like the thing gives me the ad break timer, and then it sometimes it waits like 30 seconds, sometimes it's immediate, so I never know when it's gonna start exactly. So once this ad is over, we are going to start working on the other rein, or I guess the other side of the tongs, and we're going to square that off. I'm going to change the angle on the camera. Goodness gracious, I'm doing a really, really bad job of hitting record today. I have no idea why that is. Or maybe it's just I am hitting record, but I'm not hitting it hard enough. Gotta remember, otherwise I'm not going to have a video to show you guys at the end. And I mean, isn't that the whole point? Is to have a really nice video to show you guys? In addition to the stream. Let me check one more time because I already have to do some reshoots later on. All right. We are back from the ad. So let's do another heat. That'll work there, I think. Having a little bit of trouble with my tong control, which is very different from my hammer control, but equally as important. I gotta work on that. All right, there we go. All righty. It was supposed to be cooler today than Wednesday, but I feel like I'm just as warm. So on Wednesday, we actually had a heat advisory. It was like in the 90s Fahrenheit, and with the big forge going, it gets a lot hotter. Like it probably increases between 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit in this particular room. So like I always keep my fan going and stuff, keep the camera's cool and me cool. But yeah, I feel like I am almost as hot as I was on Wednesday today. And it started in the 80s Fahrenheit, so I don't know. I think it's probably a lot of humidity, to be quite honest. We had a big storm last night, and it rained really hard, so it's probably the evaporating water from that storm. I keep reading articles about the World Cup and how that it's been a little bit uncomfortable for some of the players because of the humidity. It's weird. I guess I always thought that like because the relative elevation of the United States versus Europe, that the climate would be relatively similar. And I don't know. I've never been to Europe, so it was muggy down there. I imagine. It's relatively muggy around here too. I live really near the Mississippi River, so all of that river water is constantly in the air. It's constantly frizzing out my hair and, you know, making it feel warmer than it actually is. Is anybody is anybody rooting for someone specific for the World Cup? River water, right? What is you guys' favorite teams for the World Cup? Is there someone I should be rooting for? Is there a favorite? I don't know anything about soccer or football or, yeah, that sport. I'm not a sports person very much. Let's do another heat though. But I love hearing about you guys' interests. So if one of you guys has a favorite team, let me know. Who should I root for? I have gotten my steel stuck, so give me just a second. There we go. So I believe that my brother-in-law roots for Costa Rica. But like I said, I'm not amazingly familiar with soccer teams. I don't follow soccer, but I like hearing underdog stories in general. Hey, 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 I'm lurking here. Hey, Bluesy. Thank you so much for that lurk. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, like I said, I think my brother-in-law roots for Costa Rica, but I haven't heard anything about them. But I haven't really heard anything in general aside from stories about the weather. Thanks. Now I'm going to teach some. Okay. Teaching is fun. Have fun teaching. All right. So we've got one more heat left to, well, not left, but I think we're going to finish squaring off that second half of our tongs in this next heat. So the next process after that is probably going to be dividing out a section for the jaws and the boss of these tongs. So I have an idea for how I want to do this, and we're going to see how well it works. And I will let you guys see it in a few. It's definitely going to involve the new blacksmith helper. All right, let's do this last heat on this process. It's not a last heat though. My descriptions and things today, goodness gracious. Oh, well, that can just come off then. If that's what's gonna happen, let's break it off now. Look at that. It's apparently we've lost some steel. So I want to make sure that that comes off and it doesn't come back to bite us in the butt later. Well, I guess I'm just going to heat that up, and maybe we'll just use the we will use the hot cut to finish that off. So I guess it's going to take us another heat. Yeah, there's a crack in it. There's a good chance that I did that myself because I wasn't thinking earlier, and I actually quenched it in the water bucket. And I thought that it was cool enough that it wasn't going to cause any issues. But you know what? You shouldn't be, spring steel is an oil quench metal. So there's always a risk of cracking when you quench in water. And like I said, I wasn't thinking, and I just quenched it. It was black hot, and it, you know. All right. So let's change the angle since we're going to be going over here anyway. Yummy, yummy. I popped a, I don't know if that's a blister or a callus. All right. Should be good. Let's cut that crack off and keep on keeping on. Oh, it doesn't want to come off yet. There it goes. So, let's take a look at our sizes. It looks like we've lost about a half an inch. So we're probably going to end up cutting that off anyway. So what I'm going to do is we are going to use that as the end, the reins end, and we'll start our boss and our jaw right here. That way, if there's any more cracking, it'll be on the rein end. Oops, that can stay on the ground. No big deal. Okay, so I have this theory, and it may work this way and it may not, but let's grab the blacksmith's helper. So this is the bottom jaw. We're going to put this away for the moment over here. I don't want to lose it or anything. So we're actually going to stick, this is the center that we cut out of our blacksmith's helper earlier. And so I'm going to put this down as a plate. Then we're going to put the top jaw in there. And why we are doing this is so that we have a surface and we can indent one side and leave the other side flat. So this may or may not work. I'm hoping that it does though. So the goal is to separate where our jaws are going to be and then separate that from the boss. So I want a little bit of a divot there because that gives us a little bit of extra space for the end of our bars when we're doing that. And I want the whole section of that square so that I can split it open. The goal is we are going to cut the parallel V groove out of the whole square bar of the jaw, and then we are going to hammer in the perpendicular V grooves. So we're going to kind of have like a hug, you know, where the perpendicular kind of makes like a little corner, like a tooth. And it may work, it may not. We're going to see. Okay. Hey, Paleon. Welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. We are doing an experiment right now. We'll see how well this works. All right, let me check my camera real fast to make sure that I'm still in focus and I still have everything nice and centered. Because we changed tools. Okay. This may or may not work. We're going to try it. We're going to see. We might end up dropping things, but theoretically it should work. All right, we're going to leave that much. All right, seems like it's working. All right, so I want to heat that back up a little bit. We've got a little bit of a groove that's starting. We'll probably do a couple more attempts on that. Like I said, we are separating the jaws from where the boss is going to be. We're kind of creating a tiny little bit of a bolt jaw, like the curl in a bolt jaw, but it needs to be really, really little, so like yay little. So that's why we are using our blacksmith's helper for that. Like I said, I want to use the full block of steel on the end for those jaws because I want to open that up and create our parallel groove for the corners of the stock that we're going to be holding with this set of tongs. Push that in there a little bit easier. You got to keep things real nice and hot so it's going to move easily. So like I said, this is probably going to take us a good amount of time. It's probably going to take us between 4 and 6 streams. So it's a little bit slow going, a lot slower than blacksmithing in a video game, but you know, this is real life. All right. So what else have I've been up to recently? Like I said, I have about 12 to 13 videos that I've been trying to get through to edit. So I'm currently editing the video for the IBA conference, like the general overview video. So that will be what comes out on Wednesday of next week. I'm actually pretty excited about it. I'm learning things about motion graphics. And so I'm hoping that I can kind of put in some motion graphics in the titles. And I'm super excited about that prospect because I think it's going to bring a lot more quality to the videos, and I'm constantly trying to up the quality of both the stream and the YouTube. So I'm super excited about that. We videoed the whole thing in log. I don't even know what that stands for, but it compresses the color into a smaller size, so later on in the editing software you can spread out the color and you can move all of the levels and make much more truer and prettier looking colors. So I'm super excited about that. I'm learning all about it. Did you say you edit with DaVinci? Yes, I do. I edit with DaVinci Resolve. I have a pro copy that the butler got from work because they were throwing out the little card keys. So I get to play with, I get to play with it, which is really nice. It's such a great software, and it's a powerhouse. I can do motion graphics, I can do color, I can do just the regular edits. I can even edit sound and 3D in it directly within the software, and that's super nice because then I don't have to render things and then, or I guess not render, but export things into other programs. Cool. Is the graphic animation part of that, or is it an extra extension? So I know that the pro version, the paid version of it, is you get more of the features. But I don't know that I could tell you specifically what is from the free version versus what is from the pro version. I believe that there is a much more limited version of the graphic animation part within the free version. Like I said, I got a product key from the butler's work, and so I've never worked with the free version. So, but I like it. It's a great software. All right, let's do another heat. All right, so we've got a nice little dimple in there. That's going to separate the jaws from the boss of this piece. So now we're going to start working on separating out the boss on this one. But I think that I'm going to heat this one up and keep on moving so that I can make sure that each of these are the same. Once I get the boss, and, or I guess once I get the jaws and the boss denoted, then I will start working on them more individually. But I want to make sure that my initial sizing is correct between both of the pieces of steel. That's a guillotine. Just ask Marie Antoinette. Yes, it is. But I prefer to call it a blacksmith's helper because then I'm less likely to get flagged by auto mods and things. But yeah. Exciting. This has actually become an invaluable tool for me. It's super nice to have it. I'm super glad that I made it. It seems to be working beautifully, I imagine. Yeah, because it's like it cuts in to the material exactly where I need it to be. It's a lot thinner of a fuller than the ones from the regular dies on the press. And it's a lot easier to use than trying to use the horn or the corner of my anvil. My anvil has really soft edges, so I don't have any like really sharp corners. And sometimes you need a really sharp corner to kind of separate a piece of steel from, or, you know, into the sections that you need, you know. I'm already done with this. Goodness gracious. Oh, we're at an hour mark, so I don't really feel like we've actually done all that much today. I guess. I don't feel it's this last hour has flown by. But yeah, it's a great little tool. Definitely worth making or owning. Maybe less worth making and more worth buying, depending on, you know, your usage and your mileage. But I like it. It's a good tool. So yeah. Now we know where the jaws are going to be and where the boss is going to start. So ordinarily, when I'm making a set of tongs, what I would do is I would just squish out where those jaws are going to be. And then you turn it 90 degrees and then you start squishing in the boss. So I didn't want to squish the jaws just yet. Because like I said, I want the full amount of meat so that we can spread it out very wide so that I can get some nice nice jaws in there. I really want it to wrap around our pieces of steel and kind of hug them. You might need to make a few different plates with different angles at the point. Yes, definitely. This one is a round fuller, so it's kind of a half round. I would love to make a 90 degree and then some thinner ones that I can use as like, you know, another cutting, like a nipper almost. There's also like straight and then with an angle on one side. So then you get like the nipped end on one end, but you get a straight flat cut on the other end. It's kind of like nippers. So they work really well for making chainmail and things like that, but this would allow me to make a larger scale. So I definitely need multiple dies for this, and I will be definitely making some more. But this plate is also working quite well. I put one of the centers that we cut out of the frame on the bottom so that I can fuller in one side but leave the other straight and flat. It's been working really well. I wasn't sure how well it would work. Oh yeah, I'm done with that. So we've got an ad starting in about a minute, and I think what we're gonna do is we are going to wait for that ad to be over, and then I'll do my next heat. I might be now. I don't think I'm not confident that I can finish the heat before the ad starts. But I will be getting something to drink when the ad is playing, so that gives me a chance to do things. Let me change the angle on the camera too, just so that I have a little bit of different look. We're gonna bring it over here and we're gonna lower the angle. Oh my gosh, the world is moving. Oh no, that's another camera. Yes, another camera. I don't think I had the other camera up, did I? Sometimes I do when I move the camera and I forget to move it or to change camera angles, and then it's all like, I hope I don't end up making you guys sick by moving the camera a lot. It's like one of those things, you know, when you're watching somebody in a like a racing simulator and you're not the one driving, sometimes you can get a little bit motion sick. All right, I'm gonna grab a Gatorade real fast, and then I'll be ready to keep on keeping on. We are in the last third of my Gatorade, so blue today. It's gonna be blue until I'm finished with this one, or like this third, I guess. Alrighty. Move that, and that can sit over there. All right. Let's do this. Okay, I think that's about even. All right, looks like they're about the right size, or similar size at least. I hope you guys can see that. So I don't want to touch that one still, because it's still a little bit on the hot side. So let's heat that back up again. I guess you guys can't see that because I don't have it low enough. I apologize. I wish I could have lifted these guys. I should have, but they're a little bit there's a little bit of excess on the one side than the other, but I think it's close enough. One more heat and will be good to move on to our next step, which is kind of laying in the boss. So after we finish the boss, then we're going to really start laying in on drawing out the reins. So that's probably what we're going to do most of the day on Monday. It's just drawing out reins as thin as we can get them. Like I said, I have about 6 inches worth of material. We lost about ½ inch to that crack. So I will probably cut off about a ½ inch before the next stream, just so that I make sure that they're the same size. So we're at about 5½ inches. Let me actually do that math real fast. One of these days, I'll get myself a tape measure that works in both metric and standard, so I won't have to do the math. But they're not as common. In the US, at least. Or I guess it's 5.5, not 6. So we're at 13.97 centimeters, so almost 14 centimeters long. Just buy one in Canada. That's probably my best bet. You know, I could find one on Amazon, I'm sure. Because it would be nice to be able to see things in both standard and metric. Then I'd be able to like buy the standard things that are at the store, but also be able to let you guys know like the conversions and stuff. All right, let's do another heat. I'll use this set of tongs so I can kind of show you guys that they actually are relatively close. See that? So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to lay in the boss. I'm going to lay it in on this side because we're already hot and I won't have to reheat this guy yet. All right. I believe we are now done for the moment with the blacksmith's helper. Put those over there. Gets pretty stuck, so sometimes I need a little bit of help to get it out. Whoops. I'll deal with that later. I'm dropping things off camera, guys. I'm dropping things off camera. Okay. New angle. We're going to be playing in the center of the anvil surface. So basically what we're going to be doing is we went from this side. So the next thing that we're doing is we are taking this and turning it 90 degrees to the side. We're going to put in a 45-degree angle. And we are going to smush in an offset so that the boss can sit, or I guess, so the boss will be offset from the jaws, and the jaws will close parallel to one another. Is that the direction? Is it no. Give me a minute. I gotta figure out where. I always forget where the angle is. Or like what the angle is. It is a 45 degrees. If this is the one I'm looking at, it is a 45-degree angle in this direction. Yes, that's it. These are a manufactured set of tongs. This is why I'm using these as my reference. So we are going to take our piece of steel, from this direction, we're going to turn it this direction and put it on the anvil at a 45-degree angle to make that offset. We're not going to be doing the full thing because we are going to need to flip this around and use the jaws as a handle while we are drawing out the reins. So we're going to give ourselves a notation, like for what size we need them to be, but we're not going to go all the way until after we've drawn out the reins. All right, let's do another heat. All right. So now we've got a start to that. That's exactly what we want to see. Okay. So eventually we're going to have to come back in here and lay in that separation one more time. But I think it'll be all right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to heat up this side over here, and we're going to lay in the separation between the jaw and the boss on that side. It's exactly what I want to see. Yes. Okay. We're doing good so far. Trying to make these tongs really aesthetic because I am very much not very good at making aesthetic tongs in general. I make functional tongs. But I mean, if you look at that, the ends of my tongs, this side's higher than this side. The round section for the bolt jaw is not evenly rounded. I mean, I've got a square peg on this side and a round side on this side. And I mean, my reins are all kinds of screwy. So I'm really trying hard to make an aesthetic pair of tongs this time. I really want to balance that function and form today. Okay. So after we get that side kind of, or the angle put in that side, we are going to turn the piece another 90 degrees so it's on the back end. And then we are going to offset the rest of the boss, right? Once that offset is in, then we have all of our measurements in there already, and we're able to turn it over and draw out the reins. So, like I said, we are putting in measurements, but we are not squishing the material all the way to its final dimensions. We're just kind of giving ourselves a starting point. Right. I am a little bit worried about the end of this guy. This is the one, or no, not this one. The one that's in the forge right now, because we had that crack, and I'm a little bit worried that that crack is a little bit further into the length of those reins. I mean, if that's the case, then I guess I'm going to be welding on reins to these guys just to give them a little bit more length. But I think it's all right. I think we cut the rest of that crack out. Hasn't dropped things again. That's a hair. Okay. I think we're good. Yep, I dropped it. Crack is whack, right? So, Corwin, have you gotten a chance to play with the mailbox yet? When you do, let me know how you like it. I love mine. Well, you can go for days on crack, but when you come down from it, it hits you hard. Yeah. I'm going to leave that there. Drugs are bad, okay? Alrighty. Good idea. Oh, goodness. Okay, so from there, we're going to go over there. And we got a 45-degree angle that we're trying to get. Okay. So if we take a look at this guy and this guy, they are the same. We're doing pretty good on making these guys the same. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we want to turn it another 90 degrees. So from here, we're going to turn it another 90 degrees right there, and we are going to put in another offset. That is now where our boss is going to be located. This is where the rivet pin is going to sit. So we're going to hit it right there. And then we should be able to turn it over and start drawing out those reins. So, like I said, we're denoting our sizes so that we can compare the two pieces together and make sure that everything is going to be symmetrical and they look exactly the same. Because when we flip them over, they're going to sit perfectly in that offset. It's just like when we made the scissors. So, like I said, once I've denoted where that boss is, then we can really start laying in on the reins and make them really nice and long and thin. That's why we are using the spring steel, because when I thin out the reins, if it was normal mild steel and I thinned them out real thin and then squished them with my hand, they would just bend, right? So if we use spring steel, we can harden and temper them, and then they will spring back into position. Or after we stop squeezing them. So the goal is to be able to use a tong lock, so like a little loop of steel at the end of the reins. That way we can kind of lock our piece of steel in the jaws of the tongs and manipulate them as though it is a single piece of steel and not have to worry about it flopping out all the time. Super warm today. Like I said, it's totally the humidity. It is definitely the humidity. All right, how much heat do we have where we want it? I think we're all right. Okay, so we're gonna do another heat. Sure is. The humidity is the worst part. Okay, so we are going to go right in here like so, and that's where the boss is gonna end, right there. Okay. So this is where our boss is going to be. We'll be able to like widen that out And I think that's going to be perfect. That's where the rivet's going to sit. So from here, we're going to be able to turn this around. And all this material here, we're going to like double or triple that in length as we go. We can start from right in there. So I think we're going to get some good material going out of that. So now let's heat this back up and we'll put in the rest of that boss. Exciting, guys. We're going to get a lot more progress once we start drawing out the reins. A little bit faster, at least, I think. All right. So from here, we're going to go to the horn of the anvil for that drawing out process. We're going to get a lot more speed out of that from the smaller points of pressure. It's going to take a little bit of time to heat that up because it was almost dead cold. I know. I keep like letting the pieces cool off and then reheating them and bringing them up to temperature. It takes a lot longer that way, but I don't want them to just sit there baking in the heat because if you allow your high carbon steel to kind of just bake in the forge, there's always that risk of decarburization. I talk a lot. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, though. You know, I'm trying to demonstrate stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. What else is there that I've been learning recently? I mean, most of what I've been learning recently is just like editing stuff, and that's less interesting than all of the forging stuff. I should talk more about forging stuff. So yeah, I came out here earlier today, and I was a little bit nervous because like I try I know that our okay. So I don't live in an area that has a neighborhood association. Grins and sings Lonesome George's hit song. You talk so much, I can't believe the things that you say, hey, every day. Did your running board patch hold up during your trip? Right. Oh, it did. It did. So I have, okay, so we usually travel in my camper van that we've been converting. And when I was in Tennessee, when I got home, I noticed that there was a little section of the panel that had just ripped away. And it was kind of flopping in the wind as I went. So I tried to rip it off and I kept it. And I realized that it was just a blob of fiberglass and Bondo. So I spent a couple of days, 2 weeks ago, last week, before the trip, and I repaired it, and it worked pretty well. Ray's Smithy and Auto Body. See, my thing is that I'm really good at doing auto body stuff because of the silversmithing work that I used to do. I also spent quite a bit of time working with Bondo and fiberglass in a cosplay capacity. Like I used to make, or I have made like helmets like for Star Wars costumes. So I learned how to do that then. So I applied what I learned to the van. But yeah, it held up pretty well. And you know what? I forgot what I was saying previous to that. So, you know, that's fine. I guess it wasn't as important. Oh, did I tell you guys that it rained so hard on Saturday of last week when we were at the conference? I wasn't sure if we were going to be have a really short stream because we weren't going to be able to go from building to building. Oh, so you're now a bodywork Ray. Car bodywork. I will put that asterisk there, only with car bodies. We're not that kind of stream. Yeah, for real, you got skills. I do my best. I'm not like I haven't put any of the Bondo on, so I still need to do a lot of the sanding and putting in or smoothing everything out so that it looks pretty. Right now, it's just like lumpy fiberglass that has it's yellow because the resin it turns yellow as it dries. Trucks and tractors as well. Yes, I fix the body work on trucks and tractors. Well, I guess trucks, not tractors. I don't have access to a tractor. All right, let's do our next heat. Although I already started doing it, so you know. All right. I think I need that way to that way, and then it's gonna be, I think, about here. Sorry, I'm kind of trying to make sure that it is properly, okay. I need it a little bit more forward, so like here. All right, so that's a lot better. So if I show these to you, this direction, let me not drop it, you can see that they're pretty identical measurement-wise. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to flip these around and start drawing them out. Now I'm going to do this one though, because I am a little bit worried about the crack in the bottom. You can kind of see that there. And I want to make sure that it's not going to cause us any issues. So we're going to start with this one. Next thing you know, Ray's going to forge the hood of a 57 Chevy. Dings on tractor hoods are a patina. Can't remove the collector value. Ray, you know better. Everything in your shop is hot. I know, right? Don't pick up the thing. It's all right. I can burn the tip of my long fingernail. It smells nasty, but it doesn't hurt. There's no nerves in my fingernails. I'll just cut them later. But yeah, don't touch things. I've already burned myself today. Where was it? Oh, it's right in there. I accidentally, the piece flipped in the tongs and hit me in the knuckle. Because, you know, I gotta drop my forgings. Drop forge all the time. Alrighty. So I think we're doing all right with this. I'm pretty happy with it. Yep, just like so. And we'll continue to draw that out. Okay, I'm going to change the angle on the camera. While we're in the middle of an ad. Because we're going to start drawing things out on the horn of the anvil. Whoa. Just knocking my hips into the post vise and everything. I know not many nerves in your fingers left either. I mean, you are a blacksmith. You are a lot like a farmer mechanic. Your heat sensitive nerve clusters are, yes, they're definitely burned out. At least in the palms of my hands. I have more in the backs of my hands because these guys don't get burned as often. That's why they always tell you to use the back of your hand to feel for ambient heat. It's because the palms of your hands are a lot less sensitive to, you know, after because I mean, they tend to burn out a little bit easier. So, you know, less sensitive. Or maybe more sensitive? More sensitive. All right. We're almost up to heat. So I'm going to let it soak just a little bit further because we are doing a lot more drawing out, and I don't want to exasperate that crack any more than I have to. If it becomes an issue, what we'll do is we will nip off the end of it with the angle grinder. I already have a cutting disc on it, so, and it's plugged in already from earlier today. So I'll just nip off the end of it. All right, let's do this. Put that there so you guys get a full view of that horn. Hopefully I can get the steel out. There we go. That's what I want. All right. Woohoo, drop forging. All right, we are gonna get this, heat this back up again further and keep on keeping on. The back of your hand or the tip of your elbow. See, I've never heard the tip of your elbow, but that makes sense too. See, I am constantly smashing my elbow. So I'm like, do I really have any nerves there? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. So yeah, for the next little while at least, we are going to be drawing out the reins on these tongs. I want to make them as long and thin as I possibly can. So we were able to make a lot of progress with our scissor handles, right? That's kind of where I want to go. About that diameter is where I want for our scissor, or for our reins for this. Never had any, but that's how you check the temperature of baby's bath water. See, I've never had any babies either. At least not of my own. I was 7.5 when my sister was born. So I did do a lot of helping with my sister. And yeah, too thin and they will just bend. See, that is exactly why we are using spring steel for this, right? Too thin and they will bend if they're mild steel, but we are going to be heat treating these tongs so that they'll be springy, but they'll jump back into their previous shape. Yeah. So I'm going to be hardening and tempering them at the end because I really want them springy so I can lock them together. Con with spring steel is you can't cool them off in water. Exactly. And that's why I've been talking about the crack in the end of this piece of steel is because I thought they were cool and I wasn't thinking. And I quenched it in water when I was straightening out the spring and it cracked a little bit. So we've cut off into that crack and we are hoping that we have eliminated all of it. If not, we'll just use an angle grinder and nip off the end. But yes, you can't cool them off. I don't need to cool my tongs off too often, however, because I usually don't keep them in the forge too long. But yeah, you can if you don't have them glowing hot. Yeah. All right, let's do another heat. You can always pour in some molten lead or so. Molten lead. All right, let's do some more. All right, more heat. Mold your hammer in it. I don't know. I know at one point you guys were talking to me about making glass panes by floating the molten glass on lead, but I don't know because of that, I don't know that I would necessarily want to use it as a mold making material. All my FFF tongs have spring steel. Unless they are glowing, you can quench them. You know what I mean. I prefer mild steel for tongs. See no reason to use spring steel or tool steel. Yeah, most of my tongs are also made with mild steel. Like I made these in mild steel. These are in mild steel. Most of my tongs are in mild steel. I just want one set that's a good tool steel so I can lock them in place. It's really difficult for me to use these guys with a tong lock because they just want to bend. You can make tongs smaller with spring steel. Yeah, that's where I'm going with these particular ones. Yes, and they will be super light. If you forge larger things, bigger forge welds, etc., it's irrelevant. So for these particular tongs, the specific purpose that I am making them is so that I can lock them onto small letters that I'm going to be making for our next project, as well as animal sculptures. I spent a couple weeks, a couple months ago, making little animal tongs, little animal sculptures. And so these are the animal sculptures, and I had so much trouble hanging on to these guys with my big mild steel tongs. I just need something that will hold them securely. So I'm going to be making a set of either V-bit or wolf jaws that I can lock tightly around pieces of steel, so that it makes it a little bit easier for me to grab a hold of random shapes. So, you know, different tools for different jobs, you know? That's why, you know, we got a rounding hammer for our drawing down, but anytime I want to widen anything out, I use a cross peen for that. You know, different tools for different jobs. And the only reason that I have been using this rounding hammer so much for my drawing out is because this has the most comfortable handle of any hammer I've owned so far. So I just need to rehandle the rest of my hammers. So, you know, so that I have many hammers that I can use for many things. Ray, when you come to Quad State, we will make something with my tongs, and you will see why I like them so much. Do you have the little skinny ones? I've used those before. They're so nice. I love them. However, I've never been good enough to like make them. So I'm doing my best to kind of try and make some really thin, springy ones. Yeah, they do that, but they hammer cold lead in the cracks of cast iron. Yeah. When you've got a crack in your cast iron, you put a softer metal in there to keep it together. Also depends if you use a coal forge or gas forge, I guess. Yes, it kind of does. All right, let's do another heat while we're talking. But yeah, I'm very much different tools for different jobs, you know? And these tongs will be specifically for a specific job. More heat. The Fiery Furnace Forge brand made by Dave Custer. Yeah, I was looking at the different tongs that I could buy from online shops recently. Well, you know, earlier today while I was deciding what design I wanted to go with for these guys, there's some really amazing ones out there. I actually really enjoy making tongs though. I know a lot of people, they're like, I hate making tongs. I hate drawing out the reins. I hate, you know, forming all of the different pieces. But I think that tongs are such a great project to like monitor your skill level, right? You've got isolation, you've got drawing out, you've got hole punches, you've got like chiseling sometimes. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you're moving the metal, and I think they're a good goalpost. You know, you've got your leaves, your hooks. I think tongs are a pretty good goalpost. If you don't have a power hammer or the time to draw out, just forge weld the reins and jaws. A lot of people do, you know. And I respect that, you know, if you just need a set of tongs and you just need it done, you know, it's fine. Whatever works, but I enjoy making them. It's great, very common on old tongs. Yes. Yeah, I have several pieces of or sets of tongs that I've bought from you know, tailgate sales and antique stores. And, you know, they do have the forge welds on the reins. You know, it's respectable. I just like making tongs this way. Got a skin flap. I don't want to rip it off in a weird way. So we're going to deal with that. Apologies. That's better. All right, we've got plenty of heat now. All right, I am going to change the angle on the camera just so we've got a little bit of variety as we're going. I'm going to go a little bit lower. There's a pretty decent angle for this. That's lower and a little bit closer that I really like. There we go. There we go. Alrighty. Let's do our next heat. Ray Smith, auto body and same day surgery. Well, you know, it's like if it rips in a weird way, it's gonna like hurt even more, you know? Oops, did I do that right? Yes, I did. Honestly, I'm starting to think we're going to need to forge weld on these reins anyway. Let's see. We'll probably be able to get quite a bit more length out of those. We'll see what we get. We'll see what we get. Yeah, it's like when I break a nail, because like I leave my nails ridiculously long for being a blacksmith. I know this, everybody tells me this, right? But they're really, really thick, and so it takes quite a bit of effort just to like cut them. So they last for a pretty long time, but like they eventually they'll start kind of cracking, and at that point you have to cut them off, because if not, you're going to break them and it's going to be very painful. Same with blisters, you know, when they start opening, you got to make sure that you cut off the, yeah. So, Monday is our next stream. We will be continuing to draw out these reins. We should get a pretty good head start on that on Monday, and hopefully we will be able to spend Wednesday kind of finessing the whole thing, kind of shaping the jaws and the boss and making sure that everything is nice and pretty. And then I'm hoping by Friday we're able to rivet them together. So that is my goal. However, I have 2 days, a week from Monday and a week from Wednesday, as overflow days in case something happens where, you know, if I end up having to cancel stream for any reason, if I screw something up and we have to redo one of the reins, anything like that, I've got an extra 2 days built in. If not, we'll just push up our next project a little bit earlier. But that is the plan for this project. And then let's see, what else? Yeah, so our next project after this one is going to be a America 250 burger brand. So instead of making like a long cow brand, we're going to make a burger brand so that you can kind of brand your hamburgers on the grill. So it's going to say America 250, or it might just be 250, depending on how big I can make the letters and the numbers. Because the 4th of July is coming up and we got to celebrate 250 years. So after that, I don't know. I have a whole list of stuff I want to do. Same brand, just the hide removed from the beef first. Yes, exactly. Well, because I don't really want to support branding in general. I know that cows have to be branded because, or tattooed with their owners and stuff for like sorting purposes, but I don't know. All right, let's do another heat. All right, let's do this. We're going to focus in on that end there. You can kind of see as I turn this around that the last inch and a half is a little bit thicker than the center section. So I will really want to remedy that. So that's where we're going to focus our next heat. I think. Maybe. I'm going to try. See if I can't bring my tool rest up. That'll make it a little bit easier to target the heat a little easier. There we go. So yeah, it's not just about, it's also length of the handle, right? Because it's more stock if I make a really long handle, right? I gotta save my stock. Steel's expensive these days. Hey Yankee, welcome to the stream. We are making a set of tongs. So we have denoted where our jaws versus our boss is, and we are currently drawing out our reins. So we've got one side we're working with, and we got to do the other side. Probably start that one on Monday. TVCZ. You guys talking about handles? Yeah. So my next project is going to be a burger brand. So instead of a cow brand, we're going to make a burger brand. So we can brand our America 250 logo into a burger for the 4th of July barbecue. Alrighty. Let's see. We're about ready for this one. Let's do another heat. Like I said, we are going to spend a little bit of time working on the very end of these reins because they're a little bit thicker and I want to even them out with everything else. We're starting to get some parallelograms. We're losing our 90s. All right, so we're getting there. We've kind of got a little bit of a short rein in there. I want to thin that out again and get a couple more inches. Pretty sure we can get what we need out of this amount of steel because, like I said, it's spring steel, so we can make the reins really nice and thin, and it's not going to cause them to bend too much. So we've got an ad in about 3 minutes. We're starting to get them really nice and thin, so it's heating pretty quickly, and I think we'll be able to do another heat before the ad starts. So let's do this one. Okay, so I think we're going to focus in on this section here. We've got a lot of meat there, and I think we can get some more length from squishing in that side. This is the end of our boss right here, so we've got plenty of meat right there that we can use, I think. They might just be hella or really short tongs. I apologize, I started saying a curse word there. But yeah, they might be a little bit on the short side, but I think that we'll be all right. That extra ½ inch would have been nice to have, though. But we still have some meat because we do need to round these out. Right now they're very square. They've got nice corners on them. We'll gain a little bit of length when we round that out. And I'm going to change the angle on the camera again. There we go. That'll be a nice angle. All right. We're doing pretty good. We're actually making quite a bit of progress. So it's starting to look pretty promising that we'll finish this up in the 4 days that I have planned for them. Or that I ideally have planned for them. So that's really exciting. I think I want the reins to be about this size. I think that's probably my target. Kind of on the thinner side, a little bit longer. But yeah. We'll see. We'll see what I can do. We're getting there. Kind of going to start comparing the reins with different tongs that I have sitting in the shop just to see kind of how long I can make these guys. And yeah, if they'll be a little bit on the short side. All right. I think I'm going to put that right there. Okay. So this is another one of my sets of tongs. I don't want to go too close because I have already, the ends are hot. So, okay, so they are a little bit short still. And now let's compare them with that. Got a little bit more that I think we can do. But I think most of our length is going to come from taking off the quarters. So, I don't know. Let's try that. Let's do that. Straightening them out, cleaning them up, and taking off the corners. So I think we're going to end up moving the camera one more time so that it's maybe not immediately. We'll probably do one more heat with this setup. Evening, Dark. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Oh, I don't have any liquids right now. So we'll have to end the stream relatively shortly so that I can get some more liquids in me. But yeah, I think we've made some really good progress today on these tongs. I'm looking forward to continuing them on Monday. So we probably got 4, maybe 5 more heats left in the stream. So we're getting there. All right. Let's see. I don't know. I had a thought and then I lost it, guys. I hate when that happens to me. Okay. So I think we're going to do one more heat where we are on the horn trying to stretch out this material, and then we'll spend the rest of our evening or afternoon or whatever time it is for you cleaning it up on the face of the anvil, kind of taking off the corners and just straightening everything out and getting rid of all of those lumps and bumps. Alrighty. Let's do this. Not quite as long as I wanted them to be, but I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. All right, let's heat this back up. We're going to go back to the center. We're going to take out all of the lumps and bumps and see how far we can get. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I'm starting to get a little bit warm and tired. I think we're doing all right, but I'm starting to run out of topics to talk about, so that's all right. We're good. Let's see. What do I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'll come up with something soon. In the meantime, let's do another heat. All right, more heat. I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing all right. Although I will say that I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging when we go back to start working on the jaws of the tongs, right? So we've got this really heavy end and this like a little skinny little handle. So I don't know what tongs I'm going to use. I think I'll probably end up using either these tongs or I will end up using these tongs when we go back to the boss and the reins for these tongs. I mean, these tongs should, in theory, be a lot better to use for making themselves than either one of these, in theory. But we'll see. So yeah, that is it's going to be a problem that we'll have to come across or address as we go. We are also going to have to address the fact that they might start warping as we are shaping the reins in the boss. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing quite as much forging as I'm doing right now, but you live and you learn, and maybe I won't do as much drawing out on the other side. All right, let's do another heat. I may live to regret this, I may not. I think it'll be okay in the end, though. So right now I'm just cleaning up the edges, making sure that everything is nice and tidy. And everything's nice and flat. We will eventually round these out, but I think that I'm going to wait until I'm a little closer to finished on the boss and the reins. The corners, these are going to give us a little bit of strength as we are forging in the rest of this. We are going to get a little bit more length as we do round that out, but I think we're doing all right. I kind of like those. I kind of like those. So, let's see. These are going to be all wobbly here, but I think it's all right. I think it's all right. See? We're good on this side, so we should be fine. All right. So yeah, we are now to the point where we're going to have to flip these around and start working on the boss and the reins. What time are we at? We are at 2 hours 17 minutes. So maybe we don't do that yet. Maybe we just go and work on the other side a little bit. What I do with the other side? This side. All right, so these are really short tongs. How do I fix that? Aside from welding another piece on. I suppose I could weld another piece on. This is totally why I usually start with 8 inches of steel, to be quite honest. But you know, we're going to get a little bit more length when we start thinning out the boss. So I don't know. I think we'll be all right. In the end, I think we'll be all right. They'll be a little on the shorter side, kind of like these guys. So we'll probably do a heat or two on the reins of that, and then we'll probably end the stream. I got a little bit of time, probably enough for 2 heats. Okay. So yeah, it's been a great week. You know, I started the week in Indianapolis, or I guess Tipton, Indiana, which is outside of Indianapolis, at the blacksmith convention or conference. And you know, then I got to do a little bit of relaxation, playing some video games and going through all my media, starting the edits, and I got to come back out here and finish up a project, start a new one. So I'd say that's a pretty good week. This weekend, I've got a little bit of work to do on our shovel, our trowel, which is this guy, as I throw it at myself, which is this guy right here. This is the last project that we finished up. I did end up deciding that instead of putting a wood handle on this, I was just going to put a loop, because when I looked at how long the wood handle was going to make this thing, I thought it would be too wide, and the trowel bit would be a little bit too thin. So honestly, I think that overall it's got a pretty ergonomic handle. Looks pretty good. Definitely needs some wire wheel and a little bit of grinding, kind of shape that guy. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Got a little bit of work to do on this guy. And I got a couple of other things that I got to do some finishing touches on. And that's going to be my weekend. Anybody doing anything fun for their weekend? I knew a lot of people have had a really busy last weekend, so maybe this weekend is relaxation weekend. Might try to get to the county fair. That sounds like fun. It has been an age since I've been to a county fair. Oh, last week I also got a chance to watch the He-Man movie, Masters of the Universe. That was pretty fun. You know, there was a lot of good action in it. And it was overall a pretty good romp. Skeletor was pretty darn funny. Ordinarily, I am not really a fan of the actor. I don't know why I can't remember his name right now when I really wanna. Jared Leto. Normally, I'm not a really big Jared Leto fan, but I think he did a pretty good job with Skeletor. So yeah. We'll probably do one more heat on this guy on that set of reins, and then we'll probably end the stream for the day. And so if there's anybody that you guys would like to raid, please do let me know. Otherwise, you know, we'll find some friends. I know that, let's see, Miramac has been doing a lot of streaming recently. All right, Bluesy, have a great night. Sleep well, and we'll see you on Monday, hopefully. Good night. Alrighty. A little bit longer. I want to let the heat soak in a little bit more. So yeah. It should be a good weekend though. You know, I get to spend a little bit of time out here in the shop, and I get to spend a little bit of time playing some video games, which is my other hobby. My sometimes less expensive hobby. All right, let's do it, our last heat. So one more heat, guys. One more heat. All right. I think that's all she wrote, at least for today. Hey, so thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. I hope to see you guys on Monday. Have an amazing weekend, guys. All right, who do we got to raid today? Oh, yep, we got Miramac. Let's raid Miramac. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. Bye.